I'm glad to see you on the Warrior of Honor channel. The confrontation between Russia and Ukraine continues. Today we will talk about what happened in the last couple of days. Of course, we were not left without interesting events in Ukraine. By tradition, we will start with a map of combat operations. In the northern direction, the border territories of Ukraine were fired upon by the Russian army from artillery and other heavy weapons. The Sumy and Chernihiv regions were fired upon. The northeast of Ukraine was also fired upon, and a rocket launch was recorded from the Belgorod region. In this direction, the Russian army did not go unanswered. Explosions thundered in Shibakino, Belgorod region, and air defense worked in Valiviki. As we can see, Ukraine does not leave unanswered attacks on its territories. In the eastern direction, heavy positional battles and mutual shelling continue. Over the past 24 hours, the enemy has renewed pressure on Bakhmut and has had partial success. Soledar remained unchanged. Ukrainian forces are repelling constant attacks on the town of Bakhmut in the eastern Donbas region and holding their positions in nearby Soledar in very difficult conditions, Volodymyr Zelensky said on Sunday. In his nightly video address, the president added, "Bakhmut was holding on despite everything." Over the past 24 hours, more than 15 shelling sites have been recorded on Ukrainian territory. At the same time, the Ukrainian army continues to destroy enemy concentration areas. Explosions thundered in Melitopol and Kopany, Kherson region. In general, the front remained without major changes. Russia has claimed to have killed more than 600 Ukrainian troops in a retaliatory strike in the eastern town of Kramatorsk, but Ukraine's armed forces rejected the claim. The mayor of the town, near the frontline city of Bakhmut, said there had been no deaths from strikes over the weekend, while a witness told Reuters on Sunday that buildings had been damaged but not destroyed and there were no obvious signs of casualties. The Russian claim seems suspicious. It comes just days after Ukraine killed hundreds of Russian fighters in an attack on a temporary barracks in the town of Makiivka that was also used for storing ammunition. The huge death toll caused anger and outrage at home in Russia, so there would be a clear propaganda motive to claim that Russia had been able to retaliate in kind. Within hours, Russian news agency RIA had labeled it a retaliation operation, quoting the Ministry of Defense. Russia and Belarus have expanded their joint military training exercises in Belarus, the country's defense TV channel said on Sunday, as concern grows that Moscow is pressuring its closest ally to join the war in Ukraine. The two countries added weapons, soldiers, and specialized equipment to the exercises, and were doing drills drawing on Russian experience in Ukraine, Reuters reported. On Friday, the Belarusian leader, Alexander Lukashenko, visited a military base where Russian troops are stationed to meet troops and discuss the joint military drills. Unofficial Telegram channels monitoring military activity in Belarus reported that between 1,400 and 1,600 Russian troops arrived in the city of Vitebsk, in northeast Belarus on Sunday. Reuters said it could not independently verify the information. A unilateral Russian ceasefire, announced for the Orthodox Christmas celebrations, drew to an end on Sunday, but there had been little let-up in fighting or civilian deaths during the period. In the final hours when Russia was meant to be holding off fire, at least 2 people were killed by shelling, one in northern Kharkiv and another in Soledar, eastern Donetsk, Ukrainian officials said. Fears of a new military push from the north will increase. Lukashenko has said he will not join the war, but his territory was used as a launchpad for the failed push for Kyiv last year, and Ukrainian authorities say it is still used as a base for drone and missile attacks. In late December, Vladimir Putin made a rare visit to the Belarusian capital, Minsk. The Russian leader meets regularly with Lukashenko, but usually closer to home. The trip was the first time Putin had been to Belarus since 2019, and raised fears he was pushing for military help with the war in Ukraine, where Russia's army has suffered a string of humiliating defeats and is locked into grinding trench warfare. Many in Ukraine and beyond have warned that Putin is considering a second attempt on Kyiv, following the pattern of last year's invasion from the north, although the borders are now much more heavily fortified. Ukraine's military intelligence has claimed Russia is set to order the mobilization of as many as 500,000 conscripts in January, in addition to the 300,000 it called up in October, in another apparent sign that Putin has no intention of ending the war. In December, Ukraine's Minister of Defense, Oleksiy Reznikov, and the army commander, Valery Zaluzhny, said Russia would attack from Belarus again this coming February, aiming for Kyiv. However, Ukraine's military intelligence said it believed the possibility of an attack from Belarus was low. The armed forces of Ukraine again significantly reduced the size of the Russian army. So, only in the past day, the defenders neutralized another 590 invaders. The total combat losses of Russia as of January 9 already amount to 111,760 military killed. The world has not seen such incredible losses since World War II. Summing up, we can conclude that Ukraine continues to actively defend its land and hold back the strongest offensive in the Donbass. Also, the threat of attack from Belarus is growing. The Russian side is actively accumulating troops in this direction. We wish strength to the Ukrainian defenders in defending their land. Subscribe to the channel and be the first to know the latest information about the war in Ukraine.